All right, guys, what's happening? Good afternoon to you guys. Good morning to those on the West Coast. Brian Hess back at you here with my co-host, who was a little under the weather last week, so we had to delay this one a week. Welcome back, Brett. Glad you're feeling better, man.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to it.
So, guys, this is episode 2 of the Digital Contractor podcast, and this week we wanted to jump right into a topic that I think is a hot one. I think a lot of people talk to us about it. I know that certainly a lot of people ask me questions about exactly how we are investing into digital marketing at the Pavement Group. And we wanted to unpack this topic for you because I think that it's one that if we can get the right information, from us to you, that it'll make digital marketing and all of those decisions that you need to make on digital marketing a whole lot easier. And so I know that in our industry, there is quite a bit of hesitation when it comes to, investing into digital marketing. And we want you to know we get that, right? Like we've talked to a lot of people who have been with many different companies, had a lot of things promised to them that maybe weren't realistic. But we also know the other side, that when people do make that investment, and I speak from personal experience, when you make that investment and you do it right and you keep pushing the limits of what's possible, that the ROI is significant. So I want to open it up with that, Brett, and just throw it to you and have you kind of paint the picture of what you've seen since working with contractors here over the past year or so, and some of the stories that you've heard. And then, on the flip side, some of the success stories that we've had as a company at Lead Revenue in helping those people who did make the right moves and the right investments.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So, digital marketing is an all-encompassing arena, and you really have to pay to play is the bottom line. The biggest change for me going from auto to contractors is the amount of traffic that they're getting, right? You may have a contractor site who's getting 300 to 500 people finding their site on a monthly basis. We could be doing a great job of increasing organic traffic, say 5% a month. And you're talking just a handful of people. So Facebook didn't get to be $1 trillion companies just by giving you organic rank. Is it possible to move the needle organically? Of course it is. But if we move the needle 5% and we bring 25 new visits a month to your website, you're not talking much. So in order to really scale and get to the next level, you need to pay to play. You need to be on AdWords. You need to be retargeting. You need to be using Facebook. You need to be using all of the above. As I said, they didn't get to be trillion-dollar companies by giving stuff away. So unfortunately, it's just part of the equation to really make it. And if companies are telling you different, they're not telling you the full facts, right? You need to know going in that you're going to have an expense dedicated to Google, dedicated to Facebook on a monthly business, and that's just the cost of doing business. So I think most of the contractors, Brian, need to wrap their head around that thought. Auto dealers have been utilizing these forever, and it's just part of their marketing budget on a monthly basis. And quite frankly, it needs to be for every business. I mean, just looking at the Pavement Group and how you guys are done. I was just on a demo before this, and I saw you got 23,000 clicks to your site last month. That's extra sites that wouldn't be there. If you compare that to what you were doing before, just from an organic perspective, maybe you had 1,000. So we just multiplied that by 23 times. And, as far as an ROI goes, it involves a couple different things. One, you got to be consistent. Google's not something that you can say, hey, I'm going to have $1,000 budget for a month and I'm going to see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm going away. You're going to get rank and you're going to get credit in their eyes by being consistent and being a consistent advertiser. That involves the off season as well as the on season. So it's really, that's the scope we're looking at. And you really have to play in that arena if you're going to experience great growth.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen, and I think, before working with you and really seeing the other side of this, I had the same hesitation, right? It was like, because number one, it's foreign to people. They're not really that familiar with it. They may have been misled in the past or told things, again, that didn't happen. And so they're a little gun shy. But the one thing that I have learned is that, making that serious move into actually marketing your business, right? Like, committing to a significant budget. And I mean, our story when we kind of got moving with lead revenue was we kind of dipped our toe in the water too. And we're like, let's see how this works. And within a few months, we had generated, 6 figures worth of business that came directly from online. And that was very clear to us too. This is the other kind of blurred line. We didn't have a lot of inbound phone calls or activity at all prior to doing any kind of digital marketing. So we knew that everything that was happening was a result of digital marketing. So people want to have, that clear expectation of, this is coming from a previous customer, or this is coming from a new customer. Well, the previous customer can still find you on Google or be reminded of the fact that you're there by an ad, right? So there's some relevancy there. And for us, it was very clear that we were doing additional business in the very beginning. We were seeing some traffic, and then we basically parlayed that money into doing paid search. So we took the money that we were profiting from what we gained through digital marketing in the first place, and we parlayed that into, starting to do paid ads. And the minute we did it, man, everything changed, right? And the minute that we did it, the phone started ringing off the hook. Now for us, we're a commercial contractor. We don't do residential. However, those residential leads that came in, there's still attention. There's still people that can refer us to people. So we made sure we got back to those folks, but we were getting just a bunch of commercial leads woven in with all of that residential stuff. And so as we started to dial that in and get better at it, our conversions are significant. I just shared with you this morning, we've got a pretty large paving project here, multiple 6 figures here in Pittsburgh that literally came in off the website and closed within a week to 10 days, I think, from start to finish. And what I would tell people that are a little bit hesitant, that may think that investing into this type of digital advertising doesn't make sense, is that if you are hesitant, it probably makes less sense, right? So if you only want to invest a small amount of money, the chances of you losing that money are significantly higher. To your point, it's about consistency. And the one thing I've learned in the last 12 months of doing this with you, man, is like, it is about being there all the time, right? It's about, kind of securing your spot. When you look at the big brands that are out there, you can think of any of them, Pepsi, Coke, Chevy, Ford, any of the major players in the world of advertising that we see everywhere. They're there consistently, right? And they show up all the time, and they don't take months off or weeks off of advertising. And so I think that's the biggest shift for people in the construction space, is that it hasn't been something that people were used to doing. They were used to kind of getting business the old-fashioned way. And what's happening is this digital shift is starting to throw business different directions naturally, because people's attention is all on their phone or on their computer. And so if you are not present where people's attention is, then you're going to have a hard time driving that business. Would you agree?
100%. If you could take an example, I'll take an example. We write a lot of blogs for our customers. In blogs, as you've seen, Brian, looking at analytics organically, you're getting a couple hundred people every time we post a new blog that have found you online through that blog. Now, let's just say one of them was a commercial entity that was interested in your services, and they read your blog and then they go away, right? 2 days from now, they're not going to remember your name. But let's say now they've read your blog, they found it on Google, we've dropped cookies on their page, and now we're retargeting them for 3 weeks. They're going to constantly remember that. You ask them at the end of 3 weeks, they're going to remember the name of the pavement group, right? So that's the emphasis of, you've got to put some dollars behind our organic efforts to really have the magic sauce or the solution. So yeah, I do think that the traffic that the websites, contractor websites are getting. I was just on the phone with a company earlier that had 220 employees, a massive company, and they're still only getting 1,000 people to their website a month. That's it. But now imagine if you can take that to the next level, they're going to see just huge ROI and new returns being generated. It is a full equation, and you have to check all the boxes. If you don't, you're leaving money on the table. And quite frankly, if you don't, you won't be happy with the results you're getting because, as I said, 300 people go to your website, we boost your organic traffic 5%. You've just got a handful of additional new people. That's it. I mean, you're not getting hundreds or thousands of people that are raising their hand saying, I'm interested in your service.
Yeah, and I think that's really the key, right? Attention equals dollars is something that I say all the time, right? And as you are able to get people's attention, and to your point, then keep their attention by being able to follow them around. Everybody's experienced this, right? So like if you could just think about something you clicked on online somewhere, and then the next thing you know, it's popping up everywhere that you go on the internet.
Yeah, it's on your Facebook feed. It's on the Google Ad Network. It's following you around. It happened to me the other day. I literally went on, when I was traveling, and looked at a suitcase. Then all of a sudden I left and I went to Facebook. The same suitcase is following me around. And then guess what? The next day I bought it.
Yeah. It's funny, man. This is kind of a crazy one to give everybody that's listening kind of an insight to how advanced this type of technology is. I was on a FaceTime call with two friends of mine. So a friend of mine and then his son. And I was in my office at home, and I have the same monitor that I have here in the office here. And it's a 49-inch widescreen monitor, right? And it was behind me on the camera. The next morning, the son sent me a screenshot that it showed up on his Amazon advertisements. And so they have the ability, we have the ability through these tools to be able to target all kinds of stuff, right? And the intelligence behind these investments is incredible. So that's the other thing I wonder if people are thinking through is like the old school way of advertising. Like you put an ad in the newspaper, or you put an ad in a magazine, or you put an ad, in the yellow pages. You can't really know what's coming from where, right? You could put trackable.
It's not trackable. You have like no idea.
But in this current day, you can absolutely target and retarget and get analytics behind everything. And so the proof is in the pudding of how we can advertise to these people and then show you the results of it. And you probably know our numbers better than I do from just reviewing them on a regular basis. But, for us, the conversion rate is there, right? So when we look at how much traffic comes to our website and then how many of those people end up connecting with us, it is an incredible investment and an incredible ROI for us to continue putting money into these ads. And then over time, over this season, we will continue to increase that spend in order to get our brand seen by more people and to get more people to our website and gather more people's information. And so the ROI for us has been significant. And you would know the traffic and conversion numbers better than I would. You can give the listeners some tips there on what good conversion looks like, and then what I could give them kind of what that converts into as far as revenue goes.
Yeah, I mean, let's look literally at your numbers last month. I just had these up prior to this call. You're right at 15,000 people that have found you on Google My Business in the last 28 days. That is not your traffic. That's just Google My Business. You're at about 7,000 people that have found you in total on Google. So add that to the 14,000, you're at 21,000 people. And you've been shown you had 1.3 million impressions on Google last month just from your AdWords efforts. So, I mean, those numbers are huge and they're growing constantly. So, from an ROI perspective, on a minimal spend, there has to be a large ROI there.
Yeah. So to give you guys, just the way that I look at it from a business owner standpoint is, those impressions actually matter to me quite a bit, because over a long period of time, you keep getting millions of impressions month in and month out. Over a long period of time, you become the recognized brand in your industry, right? So to me, that matters. Then from a traffic perspective, and correct me here if I'm wrong, but it's around an 8% conversion rate, 9% conversion rate, something like that, from the traffic that we get to our website to people that are actually contacting us. So you guys can do the math there on, 7,000 or 8,000, whatever we end up with visitors per month. If you take that times, just say 8%, that's the number of people who are contacting us and then take some of those out from being residential clients and the rest that are left over. And then you figure what our average job size is and then what we make in profit per job. And it is a massive, massive ROI. I know last year, I'm very familiar with those numbers, what we invested versus what we made in profit. It was like a 12 to 15 times ROI from July to the end of the year. And that doesn't count the business that carried over into this year that we didn't complete last year that will have come from the ads that we placed last year. So, for you guys out there that maybe are a little gun shy about investing into digital marketing, just know that it works, right? But it only works if you're willing to commit, right? And I used this yesterday on my podcast in the morning, said 99% committed versus 100% committed. The results are completely different. Right. And so
100%.
if you're not all in, right, if you have that slightest hesitation where you want to take your foot off the gas, that's fine, but you're going to pay for it. Right. And at the end of the day, when you take your foot off the gas, somebody else is going to pass you up. And then, you lose all of that progress that you've made. And so understanding that from a marketing perspective is important. What are some of the other things, man, that you've seen contractors, just being brutally honest, what are some of the other mistakes that you've seen contractors make when it comes to investing into marketing in the wrong way or not investing enough?
Oh my God, that's been that's a very big question, right? I mean, I see people that from every angle. I've got a guy that's saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to have 3 websites. If one can do X, 3 can do X. Nothing can be further from the truth. We've got a handful of people that are getting too many leads, Brian. And what I mean by that is they don't have the staff to answer the phone. They don't have the staff to respond to the leads. So, is that a recipe for success? Probably not. You need to cover the fact that you have to answer the phone when the phone rings, and you have to respond to a lead when a lead comes in. Data shows that if a lead comes in and you respond in the first 30 minutes, it's got a 300% better chance of closing. So I think that's just such a broad question. But I would say the number one thing that I'm seeing is people giving up too early. Saying, "Hey, I've got a $500 budget and I want to dominate." Well, one, that's an impossibility, regardless of what city in the country you're in. But secondly, you've got to give something time to work. Don't look at it and say, I'm gonna commit to $500 or $1,000. Commit to a real budget and commit for a minimum of 90 days. Google's going to take 72 hours to approve the ad. Google's not going to give you the best placement in the first 14 days, the first 28 days, because they're looking for advertisers that show consistency. Because there are so many out there that are saying, "You know what? I tried that Google thing and there was no ROI. In fact, I wasted $1,000." That's not the mentality you need going into it. So make sure you have a real budget that is enough to get you desired results. But make sure you set aside 90 days, 120 days to give it a chance. Because I can tell you right now, Brian, when you started out with us running all your ads, you had mentioned that the average cost per click was about $7 in your industry. And that's what I'm seeing. We were able in time to take that from $7 to $3 to under $1. I looked today, last month, your average click per charge was 28 cents. You've proven consistency and relevancy in Google's eyes, and you're now seeing the rewards.
Yeah. And listen, guys, that is, it's an investment to do that. Right. But like to Brett's point, at the end of the day, when you stick around, and I say this to people that ask me this question all the time, but like the only way you can figure it out, because every business in every market is slightly different. Right. And so, a lot of times I think that, businesses look at the marketing company and say, what are they doing wrong? And honestly, it's a learning process, regardless of how skilled that marketing company is and how educated that marketing company is. There's slightly different things in every single market, in every single industry that are unique. And so when you start advertising, Brett and I had, a lot of conversations around how to approach this? What blog articles to use? What topics are going to be the hottest? How do you drive that traffic? And so I think it's important for people to realize that commitment is necessary from a multitude of angles, because without it, you can't reap the rewards of that, right? Because you learn as you continue to advertise, and the analytics are there and the data is there for you to really look at what's working the best. Well, now you have the ability to utilize that data to your advantage and do what's working over and over again. There's a reason why marketing companies do A/B split tests, right? Let's do this ad and let's do this ad and let's see which one's performing better. Well, you can't look at that ad and turn it off after you've spent $100. It just doesn't work. It's not enough data to be able to push it through. And I've listened to lots of, high level marketers that will tell you that if you're not spending 10 grand a month, that, it's a bad idea. And we don't need to spend that in our industry necessarily, but if you have the budget to spend 10,000 a month, you're going to get really solid data to make better decisions on. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And what I will tell you, and when I say it's an all-encompassing approach, if we move the needle 5% on organic traffic and you get another 20 people to your website, that is one component. That's important. I had a call from a contractor yesterday in the Midwest that said, "Hey, the blogging's not working." And I went and looked at the data, and he got 200 extra people from the blogs a month. And then I jumped over to AdWords. He's like, I want to stop the blogging, and I want to see what we can save on the blogging by not having you guys do it so I can spend more on AdWords. So then I went and I said, listen, if you look at your AdWords, your cost per click is 89 cents. Let's run a campaign that's not blog related and see what it was. It was $9. So how in the world are you saying that the blogging only brought a couple hundred people in? If you cancel that, you're going to be your cost per click is going to go up by $7. It doesn't make any sense. So it's all related in a lot larger capacity than you realize.
Yeah, I think it's super important for people to run all those numbers and to have those conversations about, what does it cost for us to get traffic? What does it cost for us to get a lead? And then once we get with those customers, we actually make contact with those customers. How many of those are converting into sales? And when you run those numbers down, you can really look at an accurate cost of acquisition and say, okay, how much should I be investing, right? Because if this is giving me a 5-to-1 ROI, if I give you $1 and you give me back $5, how many times am I going to give you $1? A lot, right? And
right.
So it's a pretty simple equation when you break it down. But again, it takes that real commitment. And I think from my standpoint, being a contractor and being, president of Lead Revenue now, seeing it from both sides of it, I will just say that hesitation is what I see kill most people's marketing efforts. And, when you look at it, you have to make a decision. And I say this to everybody, whether they're looking at our company or another one, is, gain trust for the marketing company that you're going to be with, right? Really look at it, really build a relationship, really be willing to date and be prepared to get married, right? And if you don't have that good feeling, then keep looking, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to build that relationship that's going to continue, because the lengthy relationship with a marketing company is what's going to help you win, because they're going to understand you more. You're going to have more data in one place. There's an ongoing relationship, and the results get better and better and better over time. And so really important for people to know that up front, you have to have trust. And if you're bouncing around from place to place to place, looking for a better solution, the better solution might be right there in front of you, and you just haven't been patient enough to find it, right? And you just keep moving around. And so that's my advice, being a contractor who has, had zero traffic and nothing going on, to somebody, who now our company has, a significant amount of traffic, in some cases more leads than what we can handle. We've been shifting some marketing dollars around from market to market so that we're not overwhelming one of the markets that we're in. But it's critically important for you to take an overarching approach. Like Brett said, you got to check all the boxes, right? Social media alone will not do it. Google alone will not do it. You have to be able to fire on all cylinders to be able to make it happen. And when you can do that, when you can fire on all cylinders, you're going to be able to get really great data that shows you the ROI, that shows you your cost of acquisition, that shows you what you should continue spending. And before we got on here, I said to you, like, I think it's important for people to realize that too little spend is no good, and that there is probably a ceiling somewhere, right? And my goal the next 12 months here is to find what that ceiling is, right? Like, where is the breaking point where the ROI changes? Because if we can continue to get the same ROI, we're going to continue to invest more and more into marketing that continues to return us more money. So, from that standpoint, I hope that people got some value, out of, some of the information that we've shared here so far. Anything else that you can think of, man, as far as why it makes sense for specifically contractors to be investing into digital marketing? Some of the any other kind of examples that stand out that are really great examples of significant ROI that we've achieved for customers that you can mention here?
Oh, we had a small contractor in Texas, who did $600,000 of revenue last year, land a $1.6 million job off of paid search. He was not doing it. He didn't believe in it. And, obviously he's a believer now. I would say the biggest thing I would look at is whoever your marketing company is or whoever you're talking to. I've heard so many companies. We've done a demo where they're considering several different companies, and I'll let you know point blank, you need to spend money on paid search. The behemoths, Google, Facebook, you've got to spend money or you are going to be obsolete. If someone's telling you you can do this organically without having a paid budget, run fast.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And I've seen it both ways, right? We got results the organic way, but it was a slow drip. And then as soon as we turned on paid search, it was like, the dam broke and we had to hire people to answer the phones, and we had to, make all kinds of adjustments because we had zero ability to anticipate the volume that was going to come. And I would add one last thing here is that, for those people who might be out there that are spending money on Home Advisor or those types of, paid lead places, there are, you can complement that with Google Ads, and you can start to look at, how you drive traffic, because again, what you're looking to do is you're trying to drive traffic that is yours, right? It's not shared traffic. It's not shared leads, right? And so the conversions of those leads in comparison, I work with a couple of contractors in Top Contractor School that have a 2, 3, 4 times close rate of their own leads, the ones that they drive to their own website versus those that they get from these types of lead companies. And so those leads that you can get to your own website, they are more valuable. They do close at a higher rate. Those customers are just much more likely to buy from you because they're learning something about your company on your own real estate. They're getting a really good feel of who you are and what you do, and hopefully your story, right? Based on how you build your website, they should be able to get an idea of exactly who your company is. But with that said, most construction companies out there, most contractors are investing into some sort of marketing. I would tell you to really look at it heavily, because the future, in my opinion, and I think Brett agrees, is in the digital space, right? People are adopting more and more things into their life that they do by selecting on a device, on a computer, on a phone, whatever it is. And you want to be, as we said in the last episode, you want to be at the front of that race to become a digital contractor. So that's it for today, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in here. If you found value in this, please share it out. Please leave us a review on the podcast, and we look forward to seeing you again. I think Brett's all healed up here, so we should be good to go again for another episode next week. So until next time, guys, we will see you around. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot us a DM or check us out at leadrevenue.com. See you guys next week.